stop wasting your time on those things that aren't actually meaningful to you. Reflect deeply on your values. I'll simplify how to do this in a second, but first, let me just tell you a story that I know you'll relate to. So I've been doing everything right for about a year now. I've been doing all the healthy habits, I've been consistent, I've been prioritizing my sleep over all else, but I always felt like something was missing. I couldn't shake this mildly depressive state that I was in. I always felt that sense of lack. I kept reorganizing my routine, trying new habits, trying new mindsets, reading different books, but it never went away. And it felt so frustrating and hopeless because I was doing everything that everyone was telling me to. I was doing absolutely everything right by their standards. So I didn't understand why I should be feeling this way. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I stumbled across a live stream Hamza did where he was talking about the essential few values that you base your life on. And he had health, work, and love, I think it was. And at that point, I finally realized, you know what? I'm not actually living in line with my values. I've been prioritizing my health over everything else for so long. But I reflected and I realized, actually, those times in my life where I feel genuinely fulfilled, those times in my life where I'm genuinely happy and I don't feel like something's missing, they're not the times where I'm prioritizing my health over everything else. But the times when I'm prioritizing my growth over everything else. When I'm staying up late to work on different things, when I'm spending every spare second watching content on self-improvement so I can learn as much as possible. Not those times where I'm being neurotic about trying to go to sleep at the exact right time every night and spending ages on healthy habits and, really optimizing my health. Those times where I'm really optimizing my health and I'm doing everything that the self-improvement industry is telling me to, but I'm sacrificing my growth as a result. Those are actually the times when I'm the most depressed, where I feel like I'm going nowhere in life. Not the times where I'm doing the best. And so from that, I realized we're actually being convinced to live by the wrong values. Upon making that realization, I've been sacrificing my sleep and my mental health for the sake of growth. Growth in my work, growth in my personal development. And let me tell you, it is night and day, the difference. I feel so... I don't have as much energy, but I'm still so much happier. I'm so much more excited to get up in the morning. I mean, you can probably tell that my energy is a bit low because I didn't get enough sleep. But even so, I'm enjoying life so much more. I feel like I'm finally actually living in line with what really matters to me. Growth. Instead of just living by the standard that everyone else has sort of set up for us. Especially in the self-improvement industry, because there's a very large focus around health and maybe a lot of aspects of self-improvement that you don't actually align, you don't resonate that much with inside you. So how can we all learn what our values really are? How can we learn what our priorities really are? Not just the priorities that we've been sort of assigned by our societies. Well, I've created a very simple 3-step actionable protocol that you can follow to make this change today. So, step 1, journal. So, how can you make this transition from being kind of directionless in your life, not really knowing what your values really are? How can you make that transition from being in that state to having a very clear idea of what it is that's important to you and living life accordingly, according to those values? How can you make this transition? So, how can you make this transition from not really knowing what your values are and living according to the expectations that society sets for you to having a very clear idea of what is genuinely important to you and living according to those values? Well, Step 1 is journal. The ideas will flow a lot better if you're using a notepad and pen, but you can use a laptop or your phone, really, if you want to. I would advise against it because the ideas won't flow as well, but whatever works. Get a notepad and pen and simply write as much as possible about what's genuinely important to you. What you feel within you, honestly, that really matters to you. There's a lot of social conditioning that will go into this. So maybe I would feel the immediate need to write, say, kindness, because that's the sort of message that's projected by society a lot. When in reality, if I strip away the societal conditioning, maybe kindness wouldn't actually be one of my core values, which I know it isn't, but I still feel the need to write that down. So instead of looking at it from the perspective of what your brain immediately assumes is really meaningful to you, try reflecting on your quality of life over time. At which points in your life did you feel better than usual? Which points in your life did you feel worse than usual? And what were your priorities in those times? So, how aligned were you with different areas of your life and different values? For example, a large portion of the time that I've been on self-improvement, I've been focused on health. And for isolated portions, I've been focused on work and growth above everything else. Now, even though the self-improvement community would advocate being health-oriented, if I actually reflect on my life, I've been a lot happier during those times when I'm focused on growth and work at the cost of my health. And number 2 is write these values out clearly. These things that are genuinely really important to you. It could be family, work, health, growth, friends, freedom, whatever you want. Write them out clearly at the top of your page or on your phone, whatever it is, and always keep them in mind. Anytime you're making a decision that feels a little bit difficult, anytime you're making a decision that doesn't feel like a no-brainer, refer back to your values. Think, how would I go about making this decision if I was fully aligned with my values? For example, if I'm choosing whether I should go to sleep at the right time or stay up later to learn more about marketing psychology, for example, before I sort of made this discovery, I would have automatically assumed that I should be going to bed at the right time at any cost. Now, making that decision, I can reflect on my values and realize, actually, it's a lot more important to me that I grow than that I get the exact right amount of sleep tonight. So instead of going to sleep at the right time, I'll actually stay up later to learn more about it. That's the kind of change that I want you guys to make. And that is really all I think you guys need to understand and clarify with yourself to ensure that your life setup is genuinely aligned with your values. Now, I know it's tempting for all of us to pretend we didn't receive this kind of information, to pretend that we didn't see it or that it doesn't really apply to us. We like to pretend that we have it all figured out. We know our values. We know we're living honestly and according to what we really believe. But over a year of personal experience has taught me that it is absolutely not true. Regardless of how sure you are that you've got it all figured out, there is a very high chance that you're actually just living according to someone else's values.